All right, I don't think it's hyperbole, Pat, to say that it was a season-saving win potentially for the Wolves. So they were immediately out of the gate down by like 10 points. It was like 11-2 or something, and then they come back, they build up a lead, and they hang on in the fourth quarter against the Clippers. So, boy, those three losses leading into that game kind of
Ugh.
derailed things, and I think they may have saved their season last night.
Well, considering that it was a rare occasion and Kawhi played and had a pretty good night actually, and Paul George played, so this is actually a Clippers team with its team together, which doesn't happen very often. And you go and blow the Golden State game when Golden State was absolutely giving it to you. And then, of course, before that, the worst loss of the year, Charlotte at home. And the Wizards is a horrible loss because you were 20 ahead. They're not a terrible team. They're probably going to sneak into the field of 10. But yeah. I mean, there was no reason to be optimistic last night. But McDaniels has a heck of a game, and that when he does, he's always going to defend for you. And when he actually makes shots and scores some points for you, and Ant still isn't making shots. Last night I think it was 8 for 18, which is okay. But he's one of their problems for about 2 weeks now has been he's not making shots. So
Yeah, I think
but
that
I'll
like
tell you, D'Lo, by the way, is hurt. So since they traded him, they wouldn't have him. But as much as D'Lo drives you crazy, Conley is definitely a downgrade offensively, and is not a great defender either. So it's they had to. Yeah, you're right. They had to win that game. Now you see hope. They got the Lakers and then the Kings, who are pretty good. But the Kings, if you play some defense, you can beat them. But otherwise, they'll score 140 on you. So.
Yeah, the Kings are the highest scoring team. So you have a back-to-back Lakers without LeBron, without D'Lo, and then the highest scoring team in the NBA. There's only about 5 or 6 games on your schedule where you would look and say, yeah, they're probably going to be favored in that game. You mentioned Jaden McDaniels. He is a great defender, and I
Yes.
feel like because it was a TNT game last night, and when there was all the hubbub, during the Gobert trade discussion of, why are this Jaden McDaniels guy? They think it's a win that they hung on to Jaden. I feel like the national media didn't really understand, but
Yes.
he's a really good defensive player, and if he can start dropping 15 to 20 points on a more regular basis too, whew.
Yeah. That's he's once in a while he makes some shots. He's not. He kind of bows down to the other fellows, especially Edwards. But well, hey, the other thing is Gobert played this game and did something. So that's
Yeah.
this guy's. What is wrong with these guys? Everybody's sick. They're illness all the time. You can't. Illness is what is it? What is it? Illness. You must be. You got to be puking your guts out, right? You can't be running a temperature of 100 degrees and say I'm not going to play tonight. Especially the guy who started COVID in America. He missed the game the other day because the guy started COVID. He was the source. And forget China. Rudy Gobert was the guy, and he was sick then. You're not sick. Play, for God's sake. You're making
Is this their way? Like,
million.
is illness their way of, Anthony Edwards is the front man for you can't take a game off or you're a sissy, right? So are they saying
load management?
it's an illness, but it's really
Yes.
load management?
Yeah. I don't know, but Rudy hasn't played enough to worry about his load management, has he? We talked about this the other day, though. What are they going to do about Nas? Nas is going to leave.
Even
Nas is going to go somewhere, be promised a starting role, and get a big contract. That'll hurt him, man. That's when you have no draft choices coming in, and you're gonna lose him. Now Jalen Noel, they've moved on from him. He's not coming back. They don't play him anymore. Last night, I don't know. Last night he wasn't in. He's got a sore knee, I guess, or something. But they moved on from him. I was a big fan of his, but something happened this year. They don't play him. But Nas is a player.
Yeah, even LeBron James tweeted out last night, Naz Reid's got too much game. So even he's got the attention of LeBron James when he's watching Timberwolves
LeBron's
basketball.
already planting seeds.
Isn't that
Seeds.
tampering? Isn't that tampering for a free agent?
That's why if a player tweets something out, it's not tampering. If it's public, if he slides into the DMs, maybe it's a little more questionable.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't huge last night, but man, alive, Golden State, he was unbelievable. The fact that he can now handle the ball and shoot from three and shoot from outside is incredible to me. I never saw that being part of his game. Did you guys? I mean,
he's worked at all of it. You know, he's one of the most improved players in the league because he was undrafted 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And he dominated the Vegas Summer League and kind of, dominated enough to get a contract. But if I would have told you this is very depressing, and I know they won last night, so they're kind of back on track, but all right, if you could just rewind time and go back, 9 months or whatever, and you can have, so Cat goes down with an injury, but you still have as your big men, Naz Reid, Jared Vanderbilt, and Walker Kessler.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you're right. You'd be in fine shape because when Walker's having one of his rookie games, you're going to have, Naz can get a lot more minutes. He's not a center, but the way the game is played now, you're absolutely right. It's I don't know. There's no sugarcoat. Now, when that draft comes, if they end up being in the lottery and that draft choice ends up about being sixth, it's what a disaster. I mean, just you look at that especially if you lose Reid and you're still stuck with the Cat Man, who might never play again. He might be retired. We don't even know it. But what is that? That is
the calf injury.
That is the overriding thing of this team, because Judd and I talked about this. There's every hint that the team is ready for him to play, that there's nobody saying, Cat, you can't play. That means Cat's not playing. That's Cat's deciding not to play. That's certainly Finch's quotes saying, we don't know. We don't know when he's going to play. What?
So people are saying that so there's the different grades of calf strains, that this all along this was a severe grade 3 calf strain, and those generally take about 3 months to heal. So we're a little over the 3 month, but there's been no tangible updates. No, there's been no. And I'm not ripping the reporters, but he's not
practicing, right? He's not practicing. Right?
Unless he started mixing in very recently, he has not been practicing.
Yeah, and the fear of the Achilles. Well, how long can you play if you're never going to play again? You got to find out if the Achilles tears. That's the way it goes. There's nothing. You can't wait any longer. You've waited long enough. If the risk can't be any less than it is right now. It's I don't know though. I mean, here what you just brought it up. Would you rather have Naz Reid or Cat for next year?
I mean,
would you rather have Naz Reid or Cat?
But it's kind of there's a second tail to this. It's would you rather have Naz Reid for a lot less money and the assets you would get via Cat trade?
Yes.
Or would you rather have Cat and Naz Reid walks away?
And the trouble
they might be able to keep him, but
the trouble is with the NBA, they have the cap rules are worse than the NFL rules, which are nobody understands them. But they can't trade Cat till July. But Naz Reid hits the market in June, right? They start making the under the table deals, and what do they call it? Legal tampering or something like that.
Yeah, it all kind of happens around the same time, but yes, I mean not like Naz Reid. I'm sure starting in a month, right? If the Wolves are bounced from the playoffs or don't make the playoffs, or whatever, you don't think his agent is sending a text message to a couple teams to figure out he'll kind of know what his value is going to be long before the Wolves can trade Cat. But the Wolves
Yeah.
could also be having back channel conversations about Cat
Mm-hmm.
anytime. Just because they can't trade him till July doesn't mean they can't be, swapping text messages with somebody.
The secret weapon though is what last night Russell's there now. That's where Russell is now, right? Where's Russell?
Oh yeah, Westbrook. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's
The secret weapon. I
Staying
mean,
down.
he's the X factor in that game. You got to play against Russell, who,
he's ridiculous, man. He
lose
is
a hard.
starting.
He'd lose a harsh game to Mark Madsen. For God's
So he actually knocked down 2 of his 3-pointers in that game last night. One of his best shooting nights of all time. 2 of 3 from downtown. He plays 28 minutes, so he's kind of a 20 to 30 minute guy, although he'll give you, they might run him out there for 35, 40 minutes because it's not like the Clippers they're running Eric Gordon out as part of the rotation.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. He's one of the most unique players I've ever seen, right? He's one of the worst shooters in the history of the NBA among guys with zero self-awareness, but still finds a way to be productive.
The stat 6 weeks ago, they got every stat known to man. He takes more unguarded jump shots than anybody in the NBA.
And still can't hit him.
Invited, it's a historical figure that I read. Somebody was doing the stats 6 weeks ago. He's being historically invited to shoot.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible what happened to him and the money he's still making. Unbelievable.
When you look at his career, because I think he's top, I think he might be first or second all time in career triple doubles. He once Kevin Durant left and James Harden a long time ago, but once those guys left OKC and it was just the Russell Westbrook show for like 5 years, he averaged a triple double in 3 straight seasons. Have you ever seen a player that puts out as much frenetic activity and box score impressiveness with so little team success to show for it?
How about all that time that we spent saying they ended up with Russell Westbrook and Love were teammates, and we ended up with that stiff Love when they could have had when Russell, they couldn't have him, but Russell was floating around, and that's the UCLA guy we should have had him. How about Kevin, by the way, talking himself out of Cleveland?
He took that one hard. They basically moved him out of their rotation, and
ended up going to Miami. I'll say that he was much more loyal to that organization than I thought he was going to. We all thought he couldn't wait to get out and go to the West Coast. And
he showed up one day and turned the lights on in the practice facility. He's like, Where's LeBron? Where'd everyone go? Kyrie?
So now he's going to. I'd like to be that club for the future, though. Oof, I like that team. Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland? Yeah, they've got. It's incredible the young talent they have. If they don't screw it up the next few years.
Please don't do that to me. Damn it! Remember when? Remember Brent Haskins, Clem's kid, who was Timberwolves band scout and all that stuff, and one of the guys who whole life is. He's got a job. He's working for JB Government. He's not on that main coaching staff, but that's where he is. He's working for JB. So, are you fellas fired up for the women's Big Ten basketball tournament? We are at the Star Tribune, but
I'm more fired up than whatever's happening on the men's side of things for the Gophers these days.
If you want to see a basketball player this weekend, go to the Iowa game. Friday night, 5:00. Caitlin Clark is fun, and she is fun. I went down and saw her last year in Iowa City, and went to her high school. And I remember that one game she had on TV that she was making these bombs from 32 feet down the stretch against, I think, Michigan or somebody. And I said, man, I've never seen anything like this in women's basketball. And she's skinny, great athlete, but she's kind of slender, but she is relentless. And the other day, they knocked off Indiana the other day, and she had 36 or something like that. If you want to see if you want to see the presence of women's basketball, the present of top flight women's basketball, Caitlin Clark. Oof.
If you want to see any sort of relevant college basketball, go watch Iowa on the women's side, or go watch St. Thomas. Actually, is having a pretty fun season.
Yeah, they've lost a few lately. But hey, my write that down was Gophers will beat Wisconsin.
You want to pull that one off the table?
It's already bad. I don't want to pull it. I'm going to leave it out there.
Yeah, you can't. We weren't going to let you anyways. So
I'm not that optimistic. I just don't. I mean, what we've talked about this. I guess what good does it do? 1-16, right? 1-16.
Well, it would be nice if, like, on the women's side, and I do want to ask you about Lindsay Whalen too, but on the women's side, okay, she has a really good crop of young players coming in, and you can sort of see, you can see a light at the end of the tunnel here a little bit.
Yeah, she has some good young players on this team, but they're not strong enough. Then I saw some quotes of that. My feeling watching them 6 weeks ago against a team with some athletes who are kind of physical, Maryland or somebody that could come out and bump you. You know, you like this Maya Brown. Brown is a really good shooter, but if they're trying to run her off a screen or something, some stronger kid in the modern women's basketball just kind of bumps her off her route, and they are a bunch of lean kids, and they gotta get stronger, or else they're not gonna get her done. That's for sure. But Lindsay, I'd say we've got one more year, wouldn't you?
Well, that's kind of my question. So I'm super biased. I love Lindsay Whalen. She's a friend. She is 71-75 now, 5 years in overall, so under 500 overall, and 32-58 in conference.
Yeah, the only thing that counts in college basketball is your Big Ten record, because the non-conference schedule is such a joke now that Richard Pitino down in New Mexico was 13-0 in the non-conference schedule, and they beat about two teams that could beat Worthington Junior College, but you can't go by that. The only thing that matters is conference record, and they have been a complete failure in college. The only place where they haven't been a complete failure by comparison is against the men's team. That's the only place. But they have been a basketball at the U as Mark Coyle spends all his time worried about PJ and what's happening there, and can we get any NIL for PJ? Basketball is a disaster. Now the kid from the guard, the 6'4", 6'5" guard from up in the Iron Range, who's a national recruit, is going to commit to them Thursday. Everybody's saying, and I think that they might have called him up and said, "Hey, can you do this for us this week?
Please.
If you're going to commit to us, do it Thursday this week, please." Yes. So make everybody feel a little, just slightly better.
Yeah. Well, today maybe we can talk about this tomorrow with you, Pat. By the way, say hi to Judd coming off the Tom Bernard show.
Yeah, I just popped up. Hello, Patrick.
Carlos Correa playing in his first Twins game today.
Oh, good. He is tonight. Yeah, the judge said something. The Mets are still sending out noon that they expect his foot to be amputated within 3 or 4 years. So, they keep leaking. Michael Kay is now who they leaked the latest to. Heyman, they were leaking. This is the worst ankle we've ever
Tim
seen.
Tim Kirkjian on ESPN yesterday said that 8 different doctors on the Mets side took a look at the physical and said, we would actually amputate right now. But if you want to sign him, you're welcome to try.
Yeah. Now, the question is, if they do amputate his foot, can he play third? Can we put somebody?
Modern science, Pat.
Brooks Lee looks pretty good down there. We can move him. So it's the Twins had to use a doctor, right? The Twins, they had to have a doctor look at it, right? Somebody who's...
I don't know what to think when it comes to the Twins medical situation.
Yeah, I know, but I think they used a Mayo guy. Mayo's got a pretty good reputation. They used to have Arab princes fly in to go to have their physical there. They didn't trust their King Hussein, man. Of course he died. But I mean it is funny. Scott Boras, poor Scott Boras, his campaign against the entire deal of the entire medical field is not going well. No. The Mets have had stronger influence with the medical field than Scott has. As much as he's tried to take over the AMA or whatever it is.
So Pat, apparently Trevor Plouffe on Talkin' Baseball, his podcast last month, said Correa and the now fired trainer of the Twins had a riff and they did not get along. And that played a factor into them also getting a new trainer because Correa and him did not see eye to eye.
Because assistant general manager Carlos Correa decided to pull a string there.
Well, Trevor's if I paid more attention to out of market podcasts, I think Trevor would be one I'd listen to. Trevor's isn't it amazing? Yeah. Remember Phil, him being in that clubhouse, being the most sensitive rookie we ever had. He just basically insolent and angry anytime that somebody said, "Gee, Trevor, you had 3 errors and struck out 4 times tonight. What do you think about that?"
He was a little insecure early in his career. Yeah.
Now he's the most outgoing guy of all time. He's great.
He's literally he's part of John Boy Media. So he is literally part of the biggest new baseball media platform in America. So
does he do it his own, or does he do it with somebody?
It's him and Jake from Talkin' Baseball.
Okay.
Talking Jake, I think, is his Twitter. Yep. Yeah, we actually had a friend of the show. We actually had him on our podcast last year.
I called him up. A couple of years, I'd called him up every once in a while to see what the heck was going on. And of course, he had a lot of information about he and that Tyler Skaggs, right? The kid who died. They were buddies. So that hit him. I'm glad to hit him close to home, man. Wonder how he's doing with Hughesy. I wonder how Hughes is doing. Hughes was basically not leaving the house there for
baseball cards, right?
Phil Hughes has one of the big baseball card YouTube channels. He literally just opens baseball card packs.
Is that right?
And goes through the different
we call
types
it ripping,
of cards
Phil.
and stuff.
We rip cards now.
Ripping?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That was one of the weirder last acts of the former Twins administration. That we got to give Phil Hughes this new. We got Phil Hughes for 2 more years, but we got to give him this big new contract because he pitched so damn well. Well, didn't you signed him? You signed him hoping he'd pitch real well, right? Let him do it again.
They were so surprised that a free agent signing worked out. They were like, "Oh my god, this is amazing! Here's a few more commas on your salary."
I mean, they stunk that year, but he was unbelievable how good he was. He never threw any balls. He was like, the count was 0-2 the whole dang game. It was amazing, and I liked him a lot. He was a funny guy. Remember, and he had his. I kind of lost faith in him though when he lost his housemate, the guy that took care, his chauffeur and everything, the 400-pound guy who he'd always have around the clubhouse and stuff, and he had this guy that was he did everything for him.
Tom Linneman didn't weigh 400 pounds.
No. Linneman later got in on him, but this guy he brought with him from California. And,
Glenn Perkins didn't weigh 400 pounds.
Come on. And Tom helped them both. He was distributing his time between both of them, Pat.
He and Perky aren't as tight as they used to be. Phil and Glenn, that went out the window, I think. I think they're fine, but they're not the joined at the hip buddies they were at one point. Yeah. So
didn't Phil get big too? I want to say after that first year he showed up like.
Oh yeah, he showed up heavy the next year because he had his housemate doing his dietary concerns. I think because the guy was enormous, but he was a character, and then they kind of He got out on the outside. I don't know how that.
Yeah, usually you think when you're rich enough to hire a personal chef, they're like cooking 3 healthy meals for you. You could also go the other way. I just hire a personal chef to make barbecue.
He's coming in with a newly butchered hog over his shoulder. It was not a bad point.
I want waffles again for breakfast, damn it! But it should be fruit. Put some on the side
with sausage.
Yeah.
Extra whipped cream. All right, Pat.
All right.
We'll get your full NFL Combine breakdown of offensive guards tomorrow.
Does that start this week, or is it on?
Oh,
is
yeah.
it on now?
It's going right
This
now.
week. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all happened. We already had the number 1 overall pick, potentially. Jalen Carter has already been issued an arrest warrant this week for reckless driving in a incident that killed one of his teammates. So things are already going.
Where did he play?
Georgia.
He was a defensive tackle for Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, those SEC guys, they can give guys guns for murders and still be eligible. So they got a different standard down there. I don't think we're going to scare him. They could pull that guy over and he can have a machine gun in the trunk and it's nothing. Don't worry.
Just we'll trail you home. We'll just make sure you get home safe. All right. There he goes.
He leaves on that note. All right.
He just clicks out. All right, that's Reusse Unchained. You can find everything he does with SKOR North on the Reusse Unchained podcast feed.